gentlemen, this afternoon we are live for another edition of NASCAR 06 Total Team Control on the channel, and today we start our NASCAR Busch Series custom schedule season, and of course it is the Busch Series, so why not use Kyle Busch? Of course, Kyle Busch going back to drive for Chevrolet next season. Well, we'll go back to when he used to do that at Hendrick Motorsports and try to win him a Busch Series title this year. You guys, the fans, virtue of voting polls over the last week, got to cast your votes on the various polls to see who I was going to race as for this Busch Series season, and Kyle Busch won the fan vote. We have a 33 race custom schedule season, full season points format for all three series for the custom schedule seasons, and it starts tonight at Daytona for the Busch Series side of things. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as we get into today's live commentary coverage on the video game side of things. As far as, of course, using Kyle Busch, he's just got one paint scheme in this game. That Lowe's paint scheme that pretty much the same thing Jimmy Johnson had, only it's the number 5 instead of the number 48. I cannot show you the full custom schedule off of this main screen. I have already created it last night, but I will go to a different screen and we can show you based off of that. So on my Google Docs page, here are the races coming up in following order. Starting off, of course, with the Daytona International Speedway today for race number 1. Race number 2 of this custom schedule season will be headed to Talladega. So yes, back-to-back super speedway races to start the season. Going to have to be on our A game from the get-go. Of course, I struggle in the super speedways on this game. You guys already know that, so hopefully we can get out of the gate strong. Of course, the Daytona 500 was not a great finish as I blew an engine running as Greg Biffle, despite leading 60 of the first 110 laps that we ran before blowing an engine with about 90 laps to go while leading. That definitely stunk. Hopefully we don't have any situations like that today. But again, super speedways to start the year back-to-back. Then we head to Bristol under the lights for race number 3, our first road course race of the year at Watkins Glen for race 4. Then we go to Darlington, Michigan, Phoenix, Dodge Raceway, Levi Strauss Signature Speedway. So that's 3 short tracks in a row, races 7 through 9. Then we go to the California Speedway, then Talladega for the second time this year for race 11, Chicagoland, followed by Las Vegas, so a couple of mile-and-a-half tracks back-to-back. Race 14, we head to another short track at Richmond, head to Nazareth, of course a track that is no longer on the NASCAR circuit, for race 15, and then back to Daytona for the July race on the 16th race of the season, right about the halfway mark. Old Spice Speedway will be the second road course race of the year following Daytona, first trip there. And then we have back-to-back 50% races on mile-and-a-halves for race 18 and 19 as we go to Kansas Speedway, followed by the Lowe's Motor Speedway. Homestead Miami Speedway right after that, so actually 3 straight mile-and-a-halves, but that will be a full-length race. Then we go to the Indianapolis Raceway Park, followed by the Mr. Clean Speedway, which is essentially Rockingham on this game. 11 races to go from there. We go to Daytona a third time, followed by Dover, Atlanta, and then the UPS Speedway, which was formerly known as the Red Ball Raceway on NASCAR 05, for those of you wondering what that track exactly is. Bristol under the daylight time for race number 27, followed by another short track at the Milwaukee Mile. Of course, the NASCAR Truck Series will be going back there in real life next year, but we'll be racing there for the Busch Series towards the end of this season. We'll have a second date at Michigan for race 29, a second Watkins Glen date, which will be the third and final road course race of the season, followed by 2 more 50% races in the third to last and second to last race of the year. The first one at New Hampshire, and then the second one will be at the California Speedway. And just like the Cup Series, wrapping up the season finale at Talladega. So Talladega championship race for both the Busch Series and the Cup Series so far. So that is the custom schedule season for this year. I'll go back to the main menu screen now for the game side of things, and that is the 33 race schedule. 120 laps for today's race for the Hershey's Take 5 300 at the Daytona International Speedway. So not even going to practice for this race, just going to hop right on into qualifying and get this season underway the only way that NASCAR knows how to, which is racing at Daytona. Wade Selensky, Cars One Boy, Billy Kramer, Derek Booth, No Torres, Dark Crypto, and others, welcome into the stream.
EA Sports welcomes you to the Daytona
Yeah, I'm not going to really do anything with the suspension or the tire pressure. Pretty much going to leave it about equal, just like it was for the Cup Series race yesterday at Daytona. I will say I had great handling. It just stunk. I blew an engine literally while leading the race. I had a decent-sized lead built up because the green flag pit stops ended up going with right-side tires only, and I was about 8 seconds ahead when I blew an engine. Hate to see it. I have won a Busch Series race at Daytona on NASCAR 06. I actually won in the Do It For Dale Busch Series opener last season. I won at Daytona in the Busch Series. I just haven't won there in the Cup or Truck Series on the NASCAR EA Sports games, but we do have one Busch win at Daytona. Trying to go for a second today. Yeah, rained out Saturday. We're going to race Monday. I think 2004's Busch Series race at Daytona did that. This is the 05 season, though. Custom schedule season at that, as just mentioned. Kyle was trying to get up to speed. We'll see if he can set the quick time for today. Had a good run in the Daytona 500. Ended up with the top 5 yesterday. We'll see if he can try to find a way to get back-to-back top 5s at Daytona through his speed weeks. And we'll continue on with our speed weeks on the channel tomorrow night for the Truck Series opener at Daytona. And that will start at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on a Tuesday evening. Ethan, Patrick Chatterley, thanks for tuning in also. And we did win the Busch Series Do It For Dale Championship, getting Dale Jr. his 3rd career title. We're going to try to get Kyle Busch his 1st career Busch Series title. He did eventually go on to win. At the time, it was under the Nationwide Series banner, a championship in the 2nd tier series in the NASCAR sphere, but trying to get it a little earlier in his career, which would eventually have him go on to win a 2nd title then later if we can get his 1st title this season. Obviously starting off pretty poorly in the Cup Series with that engine failure, finishing 42nd in the 500 yesterday. It's a season-long points format again in all 3 series. Kyle Busch looking pretty sporty, though, in qualifying. Great opening lap going for him. He's going to have a shot at the pole, and he got it. 49.526. Kyle Busch is on the pole after lap 1. Doesn't even have to run a 2nd lap. And Dale Jr., the guy who's probably going to be the toughest to beat on the Super Speedway today, will be starting outside of the front row in seconds. Picking up where we left off from him. How about that? Pole at Daytona for Kyle Busch. Green flag is in the air. 300 miles of Daytona action underway. And a great start for Kyle Busch as he's able to get the jump. And he is all clear into turns 1 and 2 on the restart. Setting the tone early. Biffle did lead the most laps in the Daytona 500 last night. Busch going to try to do that in this Busch Series race today, but also going to try to go for the win on top of it. Try to go for the sweep if he could do that, considering he did just qualify on the pole. Dale Jr. trying to block 3 lanes of traffic right now behind him for about 3rd place. Kyle Busch is going to hold on into turns 3 and 4, trying to lead the opening lap of the season. 3x3 traffic, 1 car lurking to the outside. That's the 86. Off the exit of turn 4, the 86 is going to have the lead. Look at Busch barely sliding in line right in front of Carl Edwards on the outside lane. And the 86 car, one of the fantasy drivers, going to lead lap 1 at Daytona. Kyle Busch getting a run, cuts down in front of Dale Jr. into turns 1 and 2. A little slide job, and he's going to clear for the race lead. This guy's going at it in the opening 2 laps of the race. And a block back to the outside on Dale Jr., who finds himself in front of Carl Edwards in the 60. That's Matt Kenseth in the 17 car. Looking for 2nd. So Kyle Busch, who qualified on the pole, couldn't lead lap 1. But it looks like he will be leading lap 2. As they get to the start-finish line, this time 2 laps complete. So 5 bonus points for Busch. Kenseth on the outside looking for some momentum. Dale Jr. going to go underneath him. Kenseth's teammate Carl Edwards sticking with Dale Jr. pretty consistently. I'm surprised he's not going with the 17. Oh boy. Busch is getting aggressive early. No young Kyle Busch to be. or knew him to be. Only other HMS teammate along with Kyle Busch throughout the season is going to be Brian Vickers in the 57 car. He was also full-time in the Cup Series. Matt Kenseth looking to the outside, and Kenseth's going to lead a lap. 3 different leaders in the first 3 laps of the race. Well, Matt Kenseth now out in front at Daytona. Busch trying to get that momentum back again into turns 1 and 2. And he has the lead again. Sliding up clear of the 17 car. And back to the bottom in front of Edwards, who has a run on the inside down on the double yellow line. I guess at this time it's a single yellow line. No out of bounds in this game. We'll take advantage of it. Ooh, we'll contact with Kenseth. He's trying to go up to side draft him and ended up door banging him on the back straightaway. And that's one way for Busch to hang on to the lead. I guess take it back, considering Kenseth led the last lap. Aggressive start, though. Fastest of the first 4 laps of the race for Busch that last time, 48.160. One car already out of the race, by the way, on pit road. Edwards almost to the inside of Busch. Busch shuts the door in the middle of the corner. And here comes Kenseth again. We've had 4 lead changes in the first 4 laps of the race, by the way. 3 different leaders with 4 lead changes. There's the second lap Busch has led in the early going. Kenseth on the outside trying to hold strong. Brian Vickers in the 57. Busch's teammate is up to 4th place, right behind Carl Edwards. Edwards looking for the lead now off turn 4. Busch has to stay on the outside lane. He got squeezed by his teammate Brian Vickers. Caution off turn 4, further back in the pack, and Edwards will lead under the yellow. So right after Kyle Busch falls back to 3rd, there's a caution further back off turn 4. Had nothing to do with the racing at the front of the field. Hard to tell what happened there, but we have our first caution of the race, and it only took 4 laps. One car got spun around backwards, and we'll be heading to the restart following the lap 5 caution. I just saw should drive backwards to get a better lap. I might try that one time. If I ever get the pole in lap 1 again, I might try to just drive backwards for the second lap, just for the heck of it. Green flag back in the air. Pretty good restart for Brian Vickers, looking low already, but Busch may be trying to beat Vickers, his teammate, through the gear, as well as potentially Carl Edwards. What a restart for Kyle Busch, going from 1st to 3rd into turns 1 and 2. Edwards did get bonus points, though, for leading under the caution. Busch back out in front again. That's going to be another lead change, assuming Kyle Busch can hold on to the lead back to the start-finish line. Going up to block the 60. Oh boy, that was close. Door to door right now between Brian Vickers and Kyle Busch on the front stretch. It's somehow Busch side drafted Vickers to perfection to hold on to the lead. That was a wild move. He already had that one wreck towards the back, but these guys at the front, that didn't faze them. They didn't see the wreck happen, so they're not intimidated by any means. These guys are going at it today. Busch having to block the bottom on Vickers. Kenseth. So you have the Roush Fenway Fords on the outside, and the Hendrick Chevrolets on the bottom. Trying to work together. Edwards is clear. We're going to have another lead change, assuming Edwards leads back to the start-finish line again. Busch has a run in the tri-oval. Where will he go? He's looking to the outside. Edwards with a block up high. Now Busch goes down to the bottom. Edwards with the block there also. Busch trying to get a run off turn 2 on the outside lane. He's got his teammate behind him. Busch going to pull out a line back straightaway. Dive bombing underneath Carl Edwards. I wonder what the record is for the most lead changes in an Xfinity Series race, but these guys are going after it. I don't think anybody's led consecutive laps in a row except for Edwards under the caution. Under green flag racing, I don't think anybody's led more than one lap consecutively. Edwards led the last lap. Busch will lead this one. And that was Busch's fastest lap of the first dozen. Getting close. 47-second lap mark. Kenseth in the 17 down on the yellow line, trying to get around Vickers and Edwards. Edwards falling back to about 5th. Kenseth throwing a block on a car behind him, while Busch throws a block on Kenseth. This is a very bumpy Daytona surface. Not what we're used to seeing now. Edwards bump draft in the 57 of Vickers, and Vickers was getting a bit loose off the exit of turn 4 with that. Vickers down to block Kenseth, back to the outside in front of Edwards. That's going to stall the outside lane out in the middle of the corner, though. And allowed for Busch to hang on to the lead through turns 1 and 2. These are close blocks, I will say. It's obviously a shorter race by 200 miles compared to yesterday's 500. Pack is kind of broken out into two. Near contact between Matt Kenseth and Kyle Busch. There's contact between Kenseth and Busch. Kenseth gets sideways off of turn 4. They hang on to it behind him. I would put the blame on Kenseth there. I think he just got a bit tight, didn't want to lift, made contact with Kyle Busch, and Busch holds on to the lead. And it's a 3-car breakaway now at the front of the field. Busch did a great job not spinning out there with the contact on his left rear corner panel. He did get up into the wall on the outside, which might have helped straighten him out, but still. Run's maybe not going to be as big now that he's only got 2 cars behind him. Clint Bowyer in the 2. Right there, the 135 into the wall. Bowyer to second. Bowyer might be one of the championship favorites coming into the season based off his season in our Do It For Dale series. I would not doubt it. And there goes Clint Bowyer in the 2. Bowyer trying to get 5 bonus points. Busch doesn't want him to. These guys could be the championship favorites coming into the season. Even in the first race, Busch doesn't want Bowyer to lead. Bowyer tried to squeeze Busch, who was already down on the inside of him. That's going to allow the 135 to get the run now. Busch back to 3rd. Bowyer might have grazed the wall off turn 4. All on his own there. Bowyer is leading, though. 135 car maybe underneath them, though, into turns 1 and 2 for second as they're side by side. The 135 trying to side draft the 2 of Bowyer aggressively on the outside lane. They are working not with each other, but against each other. Busch has a run on the back straightaway. He's looking for P2. He is going to have it. Bowyer in the middle groove. Busch trying to follow the 2 to try to get himself a little bit more help. Not going to be able to hold on to it. Another slow car, by the way, who has lost the draft on the restart. Back in the field. .135 all over the back of the 2. Kyle Busch has to be careful. Doesn't want those guys to just completely pull away from him. Another run, though, for Kyle Busch, and he's going underneath Bowyer as well. Up to 2nd. Busch has a little bit more help than the 2. Up on the outside groove. Bowyer into the wall. Busch into Bowyer. And the 135 to the lead on the inside. It doesn't take much contact to lose control of these cars, even with a little bit less horsepower in the Busch Series compared to the Cup Series. These guys don't care. Seeing some aggressive moves by pretty much everybody in the field right now. Busch with another run on the back straightaway. Fakes high, goes low. That was a nice fake. And he'll take the lead back in turns 3 and 4 with it. .135 in the wall off turn 4. Slow car down to the apron in the tri-oval. About to go a lap down. Not sure what happened to him or who it is, but 35 down to the bottom to block Boyer. Boyer to the outside. Boyer's got to run. He's up to second. Here comes that run by the 2 on the back straightaway and the 5 of the block. Oh, jeez. This is fun, though. This is some fun racing tonight. We're racing like Kyle Busch. We're racing as Kyle Busch. We need to race like him. Putting on a show. Take our first field pass of the race. We'll go back to the 57 of Brian Vickers, who is in 4th place right now. Do this for about 2 laps. So look at those 2 drivers in 2nd and 3rd going side by side again. Whoever that 135 car is, along with Clint Boyer. Boyer back to P3. Vickers in the 57 trying to get caught up. He's had a great car so far today, just like his teammate. 138 car, though, down to the inside. Vickers is going to let him go. So hopefully Vickers can get to the bottom behind him, but he's not going to be able to because Carl Edwards in the 60 is going to be there now. Another car down on the bottom. That's Kenny Wallace. Vickers into the wall as Wallace didn't give him a lot of room to try to make that corner on the bottom. Vickers down to block Tony Stewart. Mark DeMars, thanks for tuning in, by the way, as well. Now the 138 about to be passed by Carl Edwards in the 60. Vickers back to 7th. We've had 1 caution today. It was at lap 4. A car spinning off the exit of turn 4 towards the back of the field. The big one didn't come out until about 2 laps to go in the 500, despite the fact there were 11 cautions in the Daytona 500 yesterday. And there were 3 cautions in the Daytona dual race before that, which was a 60-lap event with 22 cars in that first dual race. And we'll go back to Kyle Busch in the 5. Continues to lead. He's led the most so far. He's got a good race car. Feel definitely more spaced apart off this restart compared to what it was like on the initial start of the race, those first 5 laps before the caution came out, heading to the tri-oval on lap 5 coming to lap 6. We still see some great battling for position going on, though, all throughout. Looks like Carl Edwards, though, is starting to close in just a bit. As those 4 to 5 cars that were in the back half of the top 10, 4th and 5th as well, start to close in. The runs in this lead pack are going to be bigger and bigger as more cars get involved. And it looks like Clint Boyer hit the wall pretty good off turn 4. It's going to stack up Edwards and everybody else behind. Now it's a 2-car breakaway for about a half a second ahead of the rest of the lead pack. I'd probably say a little less than 40 laps just because we did have a caution already. Nobody pitted during the first yellow. Yeah, it's going to be borderline 3-stopper, though. It's going to be borderline whether it's going to be a 2 or a 3-stop race today. Could see pit strategy depending on how the rest of the cautions play out in this one. I would have to assume we're going to get more than just the one we've had. Here's a run by Boyer. What a run on the outside. Kyle Busch had no shot to block that, and Clint Boyer will lead at the start-finish line that time around. 135 with a big block on the 60 of Carl Edwards. Busch with a run into the corner, trying to side draft Clint Boyer, force him into a mistake. Not going to happen. Busch has to hold on to the outside lane off the exit of turn 2 as the 135 looking down to the inside now. And Kyle Busch in the 5 car trying to get a run. Oh, he's going to end up in the wall. That's a mistake. That is a big mistake. Costly for Kyle Busch at that. He's going to have to try to stick with the 22 of Kenny Wallace now. Car floated up the racetrack so easily. You have to really manage the throttle a lot more at this bumpier Daytona surface for that reason. Kyle Busch trying to stay with Kenny Wallace, but he doesn't have any help from behind him, so it's not going to be very easy for him to do this. We're going to take our second and final field pass already today with Kyle Busch and switch to Brian Vickers, who was in 3rd. Try to see if Busch can get back up there again. This is as far back as Busch has been today in the 8th place position, 2 seconds off the race lead right now. Vickers in 3rd. Bump draft in the 60 of Carl Edwards. A little dangerous to do that in the middle of the corner. Vickers with a run. Under Edwards into turns 3 and 4, and he'll make the pass for 2nd. Brian Vickers has not led today. Looking for 5 bonus points potentially very soon. Hopefully next time by he can lead. Boyer got a little bit too far ahead. Once Vickers had the run to get past Carl Edwards. There he comes to the inside in turn 1. Boyer's pinching the 57 down on the racetrack quite a bit. They're going to lean on each other. Contact. Oh my goodness. That was a risky play there. There's more contact off turn 2, and Boyer's going to get held up. I said this racing today has been unreal. But these guys have not wrecked and have held on to it at the front this entire time. Brian Vickers will receive 5 bonus points. That was hard fought, to say the least. Gonna go back to Kyle Busch now, who is in this lead pack all of a sudden again. 9th place position. Matt Kenseth has caught him. He's gonna clear Kenseth for 8th place, though, into turns 1 and 2. He's got help from the 17 car behind him on the outside. Kenny Wallace on the outside right in front of him. Kenseth trying to take the air off the rear spoiler of the 5, especially on that left rear corner panel. Busch holds on, though. The run into turns 3 and 4, though, for Kyle Busch to get by Kenny Wallace for position. That's not Tony Stewart, by the way. It's actually Lance Trigger in the 133 car. Just up ahead, not the 33 in the Old Spice machine of Stewart. Lap 30, we're probably within 10 laps away from green flag pit stops in the first stop of the day. I don't think Busch's car is as good on the longer run, though. Kenny Wallace got to get by him. good job by Busch not only letting the 22 go, but he was quickly able to file back on the bottom lane without Kenseth getting around him, so that way at least he had one car in line behind him still. So now Kenny Wallace, Kyle Busch trying to work together. Top 6 not too far apart from each other. Top 3 and then a tiny gap between 3rd and 4th, and then 4th, 5th, and 6th are all right there, and then there's a tiny gap between 6th and 7th, and then you got 7th, 8th, and 9th all right there. So it's really a 9-car lead pack right now, and everybody else is kind of staying back, holding back. Busch has to lift a little bit. He felt the car going up the track quite a bit on its own that time. Going to need a lot more help from Matt Kenseth if he's going to stay with Kenny Wallace, because he had to lift, and that burnt the momentum of the 5 car in turns 1 and 2. Might have to let that 17 of Matt Kenseth go. So Busch will let Kenseth go in 1 and 2. Quickly soars down to the bottom in the middle of the corner. Busch out of desperation, just trying to stay with Matt Kenseth in the 17. Oh my goodness, I don't know who that lap car is, but I thought he was going to come up the track and turn Busch heading into turn 3. Big run for Kyle Busch. Underneath Matt Kenseth. Makes the pass for 8th again. And again, he's closed that gap right on the back bumper of Kenny Wallace into turns 1 and 2. So Busch going to try to work with the 22 car again. Wallace blocking. Busch hesitated in trying to pass, and I think that gave Wallace enough time to move down to the bottom lane right in front of him. Ashton G, thanks for tuning in. And we've got some of the leaders on their way in. Vickers will pit from the lead. Edwards in second comes down with him, and now the 138 car is out in front in the Busch Series opener at Daytona. Tight racing between Kyle Busch, Kenny Wallace, not giving each other a lot of room. Aggressive side draft in the tri-oval for Busch. Pulls past Wallace. Now he's got the 22 right behind him, followed by the 17, trying to keep up with the 133 car of Lance Trigger. As green flag pit stops are just getting started at the Daytona International Speedway in the Busch Series season opener. A lot of cars looking to come in this time. And I think Kyle Busch may consider pitting as well as a result, or will he stay out to try and lead more laps because it's so tight for the most laps led. The leader will stay out this time in the 138. Busch will stay out to take second. Problem is, he's not going to have any drafting help. Literally everybody else in that lead pack pit that last time by. The fear of a potential caution, though, trapping quite a few cars a lap down is definitely real as well. That's what happened in the first pit stops of the Daytona 500 last night. That's how we only had about 27 cars on the lead lap at the end of the race. It was all because of that first pit stop. Under green flag conditions, a caution had come out. Busch trying to get a little extra draft off the back bumper of Dale Jr. on the back straightaway. Outsider, thanks for tuning in. All's right in the world seeing Kyle Busch in the 5, yeah. 138 car staying out again. Busch is just going to stay out as long as he can. You never know if this could be a 2-stop race today. Cautions play out the correct way. Junior on fresher tires behind him may be able to pick Busch up in the draft. Both the right side tires wearing out on the 5 car right now. And the 81 of Earnhardt again right behind the 5 of Kyle Busch. Busch going down the track trying to get a little bit of a draft off of Ryan Newman in the 39. That disallowed Earnhardt, who had to run initially, to make the pass because Earnhardt did not follow Kyle Busch to keep his momentum up. Busch continuously blocking Junior. And the 138 will pit from the lead. Kyle Busch will lead this lap at the start-finish line, and Busch will pit the following time by at lap 37 will be the plan. So at least Busch has one car behind him, helping him, give him a little bit of a push. That would be Dale Jr. in the 81. Dale Jr. up on the outside. Lap cars down on the bottom yet. Trying to get up to speed. There are 4 cars all on the outside. Nobody working with Busch right now. Now a couple of them moved to the bottom. I think that's Shane Meal and Mark Martin. Busch all over that yellow line. He wants to pit this time, but he's going to lose the inside. Martin and Meal on their way to pit road. Also on the lead lap. Junior's going to be on his way in this time as well. Late braking, trying not to lock the tires up. He does not. What a great pit road entry by Kyle Busch in the 5. It'll be right side tires only. No adjustments on the 5 car under the first stop of the day. I can't believe I broke that late coming into the pits and did not lock the tires up. That was unbelievable. That was literally a perfect pit road entry. Got it down to 68 miles per hour at the commitment line too. And a quick stop for the 5 team, no mistakes. And Kyle Busch will pull up onto the racetrack now. Right side tires only, definitely going to save him a little bit of time. And he'll hold on to the lead. I should say cycle into the lead. He was in 8th place when the green flag pit stop started. And now he's out in front. He was 2 seconds back of the race leader as well. Now he's going to be a few seconds out ahead. Busch is going to be asking a lot out of those left side tires on this bumpy Daytona surface. Probably looking at 70 plus laps on those tires by the time he pits, which is over half this race. Just here, yeah, post-race interview. Well, this car is not junk like Kyle Busch would say from time to time, so he's got that going for him today. Qualified on the pole. He's led the most laps thus far. And now is back out in front again, following green flag pit stops of the 2-tire strategy. Just got to hope the long run, it's not going to be overly loose. And right now for Kyle Busch, he leads. Carl Edwards in the 60, closing in from behind. Big run coming from Edwards. He's got a push from behind as well from Brian Vickers. Busch way up to block the 60 in the middle of the corner. Vickers down low. Looked like it at least. Edwards will lead that lap at the line. Yeah, just too big of a run. Busch tried to block initially, but he couldn't hang on forever. I think Vickers is still on the outside, but I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, okay, I thought he was. It's alright, Busch will work with his teammate. And we'll see if the 2 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolets can work back to the Roush Fenway Ford that's at the front of the field. Roush Fenway dominated the 500 yesterday, but could not get one of their 5 cars to victory lane. Led a lot of laps in the dual race as well. Qualified on the pole was Edwards for the 500. All 5 of their cars finished top 10 in the dual race, with Matt Kenseth winning dual race number 1 as well. By the way, this 57 car, Brian Vickers, is starting to pick up some pace. He's got a run on the 60 of Edwards. But it's Busch who has a run on Vickers. Look at the speed into turn 3 as he gets around Brian Vickers and now follows the line of Carl Edwards on the bottom lane. Busch slides up, he's clear. Now he's going to have his teammate push him. 138 car up to 4th place, closing in on these guys now. Busch has a run. Nowhere to go with it. Couldn't get the turn in the car. Both the left side tires in the yellow right now. Gonna definitely have to be careful with that. Especially if cars get close enough on the rear bumper of the 5 as well. It's going to make it more and more difficult for him. Run this time that Carl Edwards cannot block. Kyle Busch to the inside for the race lead in 3. He's not giving Edwards a lot of room up high. Edwards got to follow him back down the track to try and side draft. And Carl Edwards holds on to the lead off turn 4. .78 to go at Daytona. Busch doesn't want to run the outside right now and risk car getting underneath him of Brian Vickers. Vickers does not quite get underneath him, but Busch just tried to stay in line and build that momentum up behind Carl Edwards. Again, he'll pull out a line looking for the run. An even bigger run this time. Again, Edwards can't block, but this time Kyle Busch is clear, and Busch is going to be in the lead at Daytona. Again, we have had a ton of lead changes in the early going to this race. Rowdy Nation on their feet before Rowdy Nation was a thing at Daytona. Brian Vickers in the 57 looking for 2nd place on the 60 of Carl Edwards. Vickers down low looking for the lead. And a block by Busch. Had enough of a push on the back straightaway from Carl Edwards that Kyle was able to hold on to the lead. Busch just trying to hold that steering wheel as steadily as he can. But he's in the wall off turn 4. That's not going to help. Gets down to the bottom quickly. But not quick enough. Crowds Edwards to hold on to 2nd, but now, not Carl Edwards, but now Brian Vickers is the leader at Daytona on lap 45. Edwards on the outside, gonna blow by the 5 of Kyle Busch. Busch back in line behind him on the back straightaway. Newman? Maybe. Kenseth's in 4th. I don't know where Newman would be. 39. That mistake from Busch really allowed Vickers to pull away. Busch on the outside. He's going to try to let Kenseth go. Follow in line behind the 17. And hopes that the 17 doesn't catch the 60. Only 1.6 seconds behind Vickers. So in the top 4, you got 2 Roush Fenway Fords, 2 Hendrick Chevrolets. And I'm not sure who's in 5th, rounding out the top 5. I think it might be the fantasy driver, the 138. I'm not sure what manufacturer he would drive for. Which about 3/10 quicker than Vickers that last lap behind the 17 of Kenseth. So they're making up ground. They can get the 60 involved here as well. Have even more of a shot of trying to catch him. Busch might have pulled out a line just a little too quick. He gets around Kenseth. He's in the draft of Edwards, but I don't think he's close enough on these older tires to be able to stay with the 60 like he would want to. And that is going to allow Matt Kenseth in the 17 to get to the outside in the tri-oval. He's going to get around Kyle Busch. Oh, Oh no, Busch tried to go in line behind him. He mistimed it, and now he's in the grass in turn 1. He's going to slide back up the racetrack. Luckily, everybody slowed down quick enough in the pack. Oh, that was a big mistake by Kyle Busch. That was just a mistimed move. He was trying to go back in line behind Kenseth on the outside, and he mistimed it, about hooked the 17. Kenseth somehow stays in third. I should say Busch stays in third. Kenseth stays in fourth. Here's the pack, but it is a 2-car breakaway between Brian Vickers and Carl Edwards now. 3 wide. Busch in the middle. Couldn't really hold his line either. 3 by 3 behind him, too. It's starting to get racy again. Kind of like it was for those first 20 laps or so. Busch is loose. Arrow loose. Oh, we got a wreck off turn 2. That's behind these guys. That's a saving caution there for Kyle Busch. One car gets spun around off the exit of turn 2, and it was John Hamilton. He was a little bit further behind those guys, just in front of him. John Hamilton squeezed Mark Martin in the 9 and spun himself out off turn 2, and that will bring out our second caution of the race. So caution number 2 is out. Kyle Busch will pit. We'll see if the rest of the leaders pit this time. They will. So a chance for Kyle Busch to take 4 tires now. So 4 tires and fuel for Kyle Busch. Everybody is coming to pit road during the second caution of the race. That's a big time yellow because Busch was starting to lose grip in those left side tires that were still on from the start of the race. Now we'll finally get to change them along with the right sides again. I'll take that yellow. Yeah, right as I was about to lose a bunch of spots, they wrecked behind me, so it's a good thing. And Kyle Busch gained some spots on pit road. He was in 7th and gains 3 spots. So this 5 team is really fast in the pits today. 1 car lap down that will restart on the inside. Going to be interesting to see how this is going to end up. Green flag back in the air at Daytona. Oh, they're all going to move to the bottom with the lapper. Vickers might get hung out to dry. Kyle Busch has a run down on the bottom lane. Look at Kyle Busch. He's got the restart gear in his race car. He's going to get to the lead from 4th to 1st in a half of straightaway. Here comes Truex down on the bottom. And Vickers up high. Had the draft behind the lap car. That was the saving grace for Brian Vickers. Busch got to the lead initially, but he couldn't actually clear Vickers with the lap car on the outside. But Busch still gets 1 spot of a net gain as he slides in line behind Truex in 3rd. Vickers trying to get around the lap car up at the front of the field right now. They are 3 wide towards the back. Off turn 4. Oh, lap car up near the wall. Truex almost got into him. J.J. Yaley to the inside, Kyle Busch. These guys are all starting to get tightly bunched together again. Vickers with a block on Busch. Yaley tried to block the 5 car as well, but couldn't. Got picked behind the lapper, so that moves Kyle Busch back up to P3 again. And they're 2 and 3 wide in the lead pack. 1 car slips up, contact, knocking another into the wall. Almost around off turn 4. It's going to separate the pack a little bit. And it looks like there's just about 6 or 7 cars in this lead pack now. And Truex getting a massive shot from fellow Chevy driver Kyle Busch. And Truex has a run on the 57. Busch backing up to get a run as well, simultaneously on the back straightaway. He's going to pull out a line on the 8. He'll get underneath him, keeping that run underneath Brian Vickers. He's trying to get them both. Kyle Busch to the lead at Daytona. I don't know if he's going to lead the lap at the line. Oh my goodness, that was a squeeze play. That was tight. Busch holds on, and he's back out in front at Daytona with just 65 laps to go. Still a one-stopper to the end yet. Everybody pitted for their second time during the second caution. Back Kenseth back up to third. That was a slingshot. Busch was so committed to taking the lead that he kind of squeezed his teammate of all drivers into the wall of Brian Vickers in the 57. And a big block on the 8 car. Martin Truex Jr. down low as well. Truex clips the... Oh, one car up into the wall, I think. Yep, they're wrecking. Truex got on the apron off turn 4. That shot him up the racetrack. Busch is going to have a big lead in the tri-oval now. He's almost 2 seconds ahead of the pack. Truex clipped the apron on the bottom of the racetrack off turn 4. That shot him up into a couple other cars on the outside. They did not wreck. Busch is out to a 2.2 second lead at lap 57. Good thing he was ahead of that. Well, it's nice to know that when other drivers hit the apron, the same thing happens to them. Not just me. The problem is Busch has no drafting help. So, there's a good chance they're going to have a gigantic run on him once they catch him. Pack lucky that a caution didn't come out for it, though, that's for certain. I think Truex held on to second through all that as well. Final time will alternate through the different camera angles tonight. Truex has that run on the back straightaway we were just talking about. He's looking low. Busch trying to block. Oh, he's coming back to the outside. Busch did not. He blocked him once, but he couldn't block him twice, so that allowed Truex to get up high. Clint Boyer right behind the 5. A lot of Chevys in the top 5 right now. All the Roush Fenway cars are falling back. Truex to the lead off turn 4. So Martin Truex Jr. leads at Daytona. Look at Kyle Busch with the run into turn 1. Busch almost into the wall on the outside. Oh, he is in the wall. I thought he was going to be able to keep it off the wall. He couldn't. He got into it just a bit. Trying to hold his line. His cars scatter down to the bottom. There's Tony Stewart. He's trying to follow the 33 at least. He got into the back of the 8 because Truex threw a block into turn 1 when Kyle Busch had that gigantic run. And that kind of knocked the 5 car up into the outside wall. As a result, that's going to drop Busch all the way back to 9th. Hamilton went high, Vickers went low. Busch going to go with his teammate Vickers on the inside. Fortunately, didn't have enough of a run, though, to keep up with the 57 with that 1-car gap between them. And Hamilton moves back in front of the 5 car in the back straightaway instead. Busch is just going to draft with John Hamilton. Vickers pulls the block on the 120. Look at the leaders, 3 wide, just up ahead. Going at it. $60 to go. This has arguably been a better race than the Daytona 500 yesterday. Hamilton, Busch, both going to get by Brian Vickers, it looks. Yep, Kyle Busch has cleared his teammate for that spot. Back straightaway. Oh, big block by Hamilton. He could have turned himself off the front bumper of the 5. He is very, very lucky that Busch hit him square. We're racing tonight. Oh, checkup in the tri-oval. Busch tried to go low as soon as it happened. His momentum got cut out, though. These guys are all over the place. Truex has fallen back to about 6th already. He's down to the bottom 3 wide. He was just on the outside a couple seconds ago. He's going to be 3 wide bottom. John Hamilton's getting a run into the corner. Kyle Busch going to go to the bottom lane as well. Trying to follow Martin Truex Jr. in the 8. Hamilton with a big block on Kyle Busch. Busch back to his inside. Kyle Busch has a big run on the bottom lane. Truex sees that and moves down in front of him. That's going to get the 5 a little bit tight in the dirty air. As soon as Truex pulled down right in front of him, middle of the corner. Kyle Busch off the apron a bit. Slides the rear tire slightly, but he does stay in front of the 33 of Stewart. And the wasp nest, it is. This is just a giant hornet's nest right now. Everybody's just trying not to wreck. Stewart in the wall. Allows Hamilton to get around him. Hamilton going to push the 5 of Kyle Busch. We'll go back to the far chase cam for the rest of the race now. This is not where I want to be. I want to be in front controlling everything, not in the middle of it. Oh, Truex got shuffled out of line. Busch got tight into the corner. He didn't lift, and all the single file racing, Truex is going to get freight trained. We stay green. Truex is going to have to try to find himself back in line on the inside after getting into the wall. Clint Bowyer is the leader. Lap car with a blown engine down on the bottom of the track. May not have an engine failure. Slow car on the apron of the racetrack regardless. Busch pulling out of line. Into turns 1 and 2. Big block by Shane Meal. Oh, to the outside. Busch has a run on the top. It's Edwards who's down on the bottom. And here comes Busch trying to get underneath Bowyer, but Bowyer is going to throw a block on Kyle Busch. Edwards going to lap down. He was a very strong competitor for the win today, too. Great move by Busch, though, on the outside. Bowyer throwing a block on the bottom. Busch lifts to keep it off of him. It's going to break the momentum. Both cars going up the track just a bit. Busch trying to side draft the 2, and here comes Casey Kane now in the 79 down on the bottom as Busch nearly gets in the wall off turn 4. Casey Kane to 2nd. Edwards might have stalled everybody from 4th on back out. Busch trying to desperately stay with Casey Kane and Clint Bowyer. I don't think he's going to be able to. These 2 cars are pretty connected together right now. Oh, well, maybe not anymore. Kane pulling out of line, down to the bottom. If he gets alongside with Clint Bowyer, that could help Busch. Casey Kane trying to go for his first lead of the race. Another Cup regular up at the front of the field right now. Squeezing each other off turn 4 as they're still side by side for the lead. Heading to the line, 54 laps to go at the world's center of racing. Hit that like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you have not already tonight. We've got another 100-lap event at Daytona on NASCAR 6 tomorrow night. It'll be a Truck Series race. Kick off our custom schedule season there, and another Super Speedway race as the second race of the Busch Series schedule will be at Talladega. That will be on Wednesday night. Now, Busch just could not keep up with the top 2 there. They were more connected together than what Kyle Busch was, so now Busch is going to have to let the 32 of Shane Meal go on the bottom of the racetrack through turns 3 and 4. Busch is going to slide in line right behind Meal and in front of Tony Stewart in the 33. Oh, Stewart got in the wall, and I think that's Vickers who's going to move up right behind him. Actually, it might be Kenny Wallace in the 22. Whoever it is. Move up a little bit. Tony Stewart back to 6th. Busch with a run into 1. Willing to sit behind Shane Meal right now. See if this pack of cars can run down the top 2. Big time bump draft from Kyle Busch to Shane Meal. Busch being aggressive as we know him to be. They're closing in slightly on the top 2. Oh, one car just moved up right in front of Stewart, whoever that lapper was on the bottom. I think he might have gotten into him. I checked everybody up behind Tony Stewart too. Busch Kid racing some eyebrows considering he's the 3rd best on his team. Well, if you're talking about the Cup Series, then yes. Yeah, it's just not as good. I'm a lot better when I have the clean air at the front of the field. Car's just a little too tight in traffic. But it gets loose on the long run, so I don't want to loosen it up. Wall straight from Kyle Busch. Kenny Wall's got to get down to the bottom, and Kyle Busch will follow the 22. Casey Kane in the 79. Leads Clint Boyer, Shane Meal, Kenny Walls, Kyle Busch, your top 5. 1 Dodge leading 4 Chevys. Remember, our final vote for who I was going to race as in the Busch Series came down between Casey Kane and Kyle Busch as well. You have to watch the 60 of Edwards. Wallace Meal up on the outside. Busch doing the same. They were not affected by Edwards whatsoever that time. A run by Busch. Gets to the inside of Kenny Wallace. 2 seconds off the lead. Again, up to 4th is Kyle Busch. Hooked to that yellow line through the corner. Didn't get tight that time. Trying to close. They closed a lot that last lap. Fastest lap of the day for Busch that last lap, 47.351. And they were about 9/10 of a second quicker than Clint Boyer and Casey Kane at the front of the field were the 3 cars of Shane Meal, Kyle Busch, and Kenny Wallace. You can see there's a little bit of a gap separated right now between the 79 and the 2. That is going to help these 3 cars try to get a bit closer. On this back straightaway right now, Kyle Busch with the bump draft to Shane Meal. Really trying to get him closer and closer. That bump draft is going to leave Kenny Wallace in the dust, it appears. One second, they were another 10th quicker that last lap. Good partnership between Meal and Busch. Another shot. Busch has to lift, but he's still in the wall. He just got really tight. Couldn't get off of it. Now he does. He tried to bump draft Shane Meal that time, and he was just too tight on corner entry. Up into the wall goes Kyle Busch. Car closing in behind Busch. Turns 1 and 2, it's Tony Stewart. Stewart may be a little too fast, so I think Busch should have held him up for about a corner and then let him go. So I don't think he's going to be able to keep up with Tony Stewart either. Man, they were just 1 second back of the lead. They were really closing. A bit too aggressive. And 7th on back is coming. That's where the main pack is. Still time, 46 laps to go. This is one of my better runs at Daytona. I usually don't make it this far into the race with a shot to win still. I suck at this track. Talladega I'm a little better, but not by much on these EA Sports games. A big gap. 6.5 seconds almost. Just 2 cautions and 75 laps at Daytona today. I'm cleaning out of these Busch Series cars. And the Cup side. Outside lane looking to get around Kyle Busch in the 5. A little 3 wide action going on behind Busch as well. Oh man. I thought John Hamilton was going to try to throw a block going into the corner. He squeezed Busch, and now everybody abandons Busch all of a sudden in the middle of turns 1 and 2. They all went to the top, and Busch was stuck on the bottom. Couldn't get up there. Maybe a little too aggressive with the side draft on Martin Truex Jr. Busch hanging on to 9th. The cars side by side. The 83 and the 120. Busch on the outside, Truex down low, Tony Stewart. That actually might be the one. Yeah, it's the 133 car on the bottom. Tony Stewart, I forgot Tony Stewart's up about 5th right now. Clint Boyer, by the way, back to the lead. He has gotten by Casey Kane. Truex hangs on to the 9th spot. 133 again, looking to the bottom, under Busch. Busch in the wall. It's too tight to run the outside lane. It's as far back as Kyle Busch has been in the running order all day after qualifying on the pole in 10th. He has not been outside the top 10 for a single lap, which is impressive at Daytona. This car's just not as good in traffic. It was so trimmed out in qualifying that it just isn't good in traffic. Make a pass on the 133. Truex pulls down on the bottom right in front of Kyle Busch. Busch back into 9th again. Truex keeps wanting to run the outside, though. That's the problem. Oh, contact off the exit of the corner. The 133 slides down to the bottom, and he makes a great save on the inside of the track after contact with Mark Martin. They got together off turn 4, making contact. The 133 got squeezed in the wall, then came back down the track right off the front bumper of Mark Martin, was sideways, saved it. They're going to lose even more time now. And speaking of time, that pack was closing in when they had more cars because they were only about 6.2 seconds back. At one point it was about 7.5 seconds back. We were doing something right. We are on the verge of our 3rd and final stop of the day. The way the cautions played out, it was a guaranteed 3-stopper. Everybody pitted during the last yellow, so they're all pretty equal on fuel and tires right now. We'll have 40 laps to go this time by. We're a little past halfway. I missed the trivia question for you guys tonight, so now it is time to answer that trivia question. You'll have until lap 85 to get it correct. Who is the only driver to win from the pole in the Xfinity Series at Daytona in the last 13 seasons? That is today's trivia question. Who is the only driver to win an Xfinity Series race from the pole at Daytona in the last 13 seasons? Limited guesses in the chat. There will not be any hints. You guys have until lap 85 to answer today's question. Truex and Busch by themselves even run that middle to upper groove. Not losing time to the leaders. Man, Kyle Busch is going to have an extremely fast pit stop, though. His pit crew's been good on pit road, but to gain 6 seconds is going to be tough. It is not Tony Stewart. He did win a lot of races at Daytona in the Xfinity Series. He was really unbeatable in that February race for a long time, too. The late 2000s into the early 2010s. Might have been a near wreck off turn 4 recently again, as there's a lot of smoke. It is not Kyle Busch. And tonight's trivia question is, who is the only driver in the last 13 seasons to win an Xfinity race at Daytona from the pole? It is not Dale Jr. Busch with a push to Truex. Picked up a tenth a second on the back straightaway. Both the rear tires as well as the right front. In the yellow on the tire wear indicator right now for Kyle Busch. Might be up to the pit crew for the 5 team to try to keep Kyle Busch in this race. Oh, Carl Edwards is closing in hard on 2 cars that were also slow on the bottom of the track. Not sure why they were that slow. I don't know if maybe one of them blew an engine right in front of the other. There's a little bump draft on Truex as well, and caution is out. Right at the edge of the pit window, the caution is out for the 3rd time tonight. Was it the big one? Oh my goodness. The 133. Oh my gosh. Oh, 4-car accident. It wasn't the big one. There goes a piece of debris. That was a hard hit for the 133 of Lance Trigger. He got hit hard in the rear and then driver's side door first. Caution is out at Daytona, ladies and gentlemen. And we are at the edge of the pit window. The yellow wave with 38 laps to go. And the field is coming down. But will they be able to make it on field to the end will be the question. There'll be 4 tires, full tank of fuel for Kyle Busch. Who will win the race out of the pits? His pit crew's been good. They got him to lead under a green flag stop earlier from 8th to 1st. Pit stop under yellow. They gained 3 spots from 7th to 4th on the last one. And they're coming into the pits in 8th place right now. Might see some debris cautions after that. That was a violent wreck. There were only 4 cars involved, but that 133 took a big shot to the rear and then hard shot driver's side door at first. Then he backed down in front of traffic. Another quick stop from Kyle Busch, gaining 4 spots that time, going from 8th to 4th. There will be a few lap cars on the bottom of the restart, which is going to make things interesting as well. But this is potentially the final restart of the race. Green flag back in the air. And here we go, 33 laps left at Daytona. Will these drivers have enough fuel to make it to the end of the race? Look at the restart from Kyle Busch. A quick bump draft to Edwards. Oh, Edwards tried to throw a block. Edwards tried to throw a block, and Busch is stuck behind the lap cars now. That really held Kyle Busch up. Man, he had a run. He was looking to get to the inside of the 60, and Edwards just jammed the 5 of Busch down on the racetrack, and Kyle's still in 4th, but he is fading quickly. Might need another shot at it. Couple cars running very tightly up towards the top of the racetrack, off the exit of... Oh, there's contact up there as well. One car pitting. One of the lap cars just hit pit road. Busch has his teammate Brian Vickers right behind him. I'll give you guys to lap 90 because the caution came out to answer the trivia question. Who's the only driver? Give you to the end of lap 90. Who's the only driver in the last 13 seasons, I should say, to win an Xfinity race at Daytona from the pole? It wasn't Joey Logano or Christopher Bell. I haven't seen the answer yet in the chat. Big blocks being made right now by Busch on Vickers. He's got a big pack of cars behind him, trying to catch the leaders right now. That car, another car that just got in the wall off the exit of turn 4 just up ahead. 2.3 seconds off the lead. It is not Keselowski. Guys have until the start-finish line this time around to figure it out. A lot of slow cars on the track right now. Turns 3 and 4. Busch has been good on the restarts all day. Didn't lose any spots that time. Yeah, it looked like J.J. Yaley blew an engine down on the bottom of the track, by the way. Trying to get into the pits. Kenny Wallace leads at Daytona right now. Caution for the 4th time today. That's a big yellow. That's going to bunch the field back together again. Mark DeMars, you did get the answer correct. Austin Cindric is the answer. Looks like debris off the 131 car, bringing out our 4th caution, by the way. He was the one that slammed into the back of the 133, which brought out the caution before that. So 4th yellow, 1st for debris. But yes, Austin Cindric is the answer to the trivia question. Mark Mars got it correct first. He's the only driver to win from the pole at Daytona in the Xfinity Series in the last 13 seasons. So Thomas, thanks for tuning in as well. So Kenny Wallace leads. We'll be heading to a late race restart. 26 laps to go at Daytona. The green flag is back in the air. 3 lap cars this time instead of 4, with one of them getting the free pass. And now Kyle Busch is down on the inside. 3 wide. What a restart from Kyle Busch. 3 wide for the lead into turns 1 and 2. Can he get there? Big block on Kenny Wallace. What a restart from Busch from 4th to 1st. And all clear the lead. Best restart of the day could be on the final restart of the day with 26 laps to go at Daytona. Daniel Powers, thanks for tuning in. Oh, contact! Busch is sideways. He's going to lose it down to the grass, and he's going to save it. He saved it. So he'll be able to keep his position on the racetrack, and we will go to another restart following another caution. Green flag back in the air. Oh my goodness. I don't know how that happened, but what a save from Kyle Busch. He almost flipped. Car about blew over until the roof flaps came up. But you'd have to imagine that slide through the grass is going to wear his tires out. And if he didn't save it, he wouldn't have been able to keep his track position at the front of the field. He did not come back across traffic. Edwards down on the bottom. We know he's a lap down, if not multiple laps down, probably multiple laps down. A little bit of damage on that left rear corner panel though from the initial contact in the spin with the 133. 3 lap cars on the restart all got by the leaders. Guess there might have been 4. Kyle Busch is still out in front right now at Daytona, but he's got 4 lap cars in front of him, so he does not have clean air by any means. Oh no! Contact with the 133. Busch got tight into the corner. Kyle Busch's car is all over the place after that spin. He does not have the handling. 21 laps to go. Busch on the bottom of the track. Gets under Kenny Wallace. He moves him out of the way. That's dangerous to do that at Daytona, but Busch did it and leads again. Off turn 4 as they'll be coming to 20 laps to go. $20 laps to go in the season opener for the Busch Series at Daytona. Oh! Contact with the 133 again! Jesus. Busch needs to just get a hold of himself here. He's blocking for his life on the back straightaway. 5 cautions, 3 of them in the last 25 laps we have ran. Will these guys make it to the finish? Kenny Wallace to the lead off turn 4. Busch to block Truex on the bottom. And Mark Martin's up to second. Truex throws a big block of Michael Jordan Jr. Kyle Busch back to second in front of Martin. Right behind the 22 car of Kenny Wallace. Wallace getting ahead quite a bit. Busch doesn't get super loose that time on the high side, especially with Mark Martin in the 9 right behind him. Busch is going for the lead on the back straightaway again. And he is going to clear Kenny Wallace into turns 3 and 4. Had one pretty gnarly wreck today. But we have not had the big one, and we're down to 18 to go. The big one did not strike in the 500 until 2 laps to go. Martin with a run on the outside. Busch trying to side draft. Desperate times call from desperate measures. Mark Martin leads at Daytona. This is the first lap I believe he's led all race at the start-finish line. Mr. Daytona, Tony Stewart in the Xfinity Series at least, is challenging. Busch has a run into 1 and 2. No chance for Mark Martin to block it. Kyle Busch challenging Mark for the lead up on the outside. He knocks into him. They're 3 wide now on the exit of turn 2 down the backstretch. Tony Stewart's going to get it around both Mark Martin and Kyle Busch. Tony Stewart leads for the first time today. I don't think these guys are going to make it the way they're racing right now. Bobby Labonte up in the mix. Busch with a run on Tony Stewart. Stewart was trying to block up high. Busch got to the inside. And into 1 and 2 is going to slide clear of Tony Stewart on the outside lane. 16 laps to go. And the Busch Series season opener on the custom schedule season. Bobby Labonte to the inside of Stewart for second. Big block by Busch off of turn 2. Tony Stewart gets sideways. Busch holds on to the lead. And now tries to block Bobby Labonte, who's in second all alone. Labonte in the wall off 4. Getting tight in line behind Busch. I don't know where Bobby Labonte... I have not seen Labonte all day long, but he's up there now. The right time. Busch's rear tires are shot right now. His car's definitely loose when he has a car tucked in line directly behind him in the middle of the corner, and even in the tri-oval to a certain extent. Oh man, this thing is so loose. You can really see it moving around. Corner entry that time. Had a hard time trying to keep his car on the bottom of the track. Labonte in the wall for the second time off turn 4 in as many laps. 14 to go. That's going to move Martin Truex Jr. in the 8 up to second. And look who's in third. It's Busch's teammate, Brian Vickers. Literally every car that's on the lead lap, which is probably about 35 plus, are all in contention. Busch almost into Vickers. And then almost into the wall, just trying to keep it off the 57, who was on the bottom lane. Vickers to the lead on the back straightaway at Daytona. Kyle Busch getting a run into the corner. He squeezes into Vickers. No, he's in the wall. In the wall goes Kyle Busch. Oh, man, that was a big, big mistake. And he's losing spots drastically. He looked low on Brian Vickers. Vickers threw a block. The 5 got into the back of him and then went up the racetrack. And Vickers holds on to the lead. And it looked like a couple of teammates there. 3 wide off turn 2. Newman about squeezed. I think that was actually Casey Kane that about squeezed Michael Jourdain Jr. into the wall. Kyle Busch trying to push Bobby Labonte in the 19 on the inside of the 8 of Martin Truex Jr. Busch almost into the wall off 4. Kept his foot in it. Can Brian Vickers hold on to win the season opener at Daytona? Busch has a run on the back straightaway. Oh, big block by Labonte to Truex. Oh, boy, Busch squeezes Martin Truex Jr. out of the way. Trying not to clip the apron going into the corner. Both cars held on. Truex only lost a spot, but then falls right back in line behind Mark Martin again. And Kyle Busch in the 5 is keeping up with the 2 cars in front of him who are now side by side of Bobby Labonte and Tony Stewart for 3rd. Back straightaway. Stewart with a block. He's getting pushed by the 5. He's going to get loose. That was a bad block by Tony Stewart. Martin in the wall off 4. 10 laps to go at Daytona for Brian Vickers. 3-car breakaway at the front of the field as the field is getting more and more spaced out. One last shot just to let the 9-car get by. That might not have been a wise decision. I think I just got to hold on to 5th at this point. I don't think Busch has the grip in the rear tires to let people go on by and just try to draft behind him. That's the second time, though, that a car threw a big block. Busch in the wall into Jourdain. Trying to hold Michael Jourdain Jr. on the bottom right then and there. Busch squeezes Shade Meal into the wall. Busch just trying to hold on for every position he can now. He's tired of losing spots. 9 laps to go. Season opener at Daytona. Here comes Junior. Junior looking low. Big block by Busch. Back to the outside in front of Newman. Junior getting the 5 a bit arrow loose. 8 laps to go at Daytona. Massive run coming by Earnhardt. Busch is just knocking him up out of the way. He's risking turning himself every time he does that, but desperation mode right now, just trying to hang on. Sixth place for me at Daytona is still pretty solid, all things considered. 7 laps to go for Busch to hang on to that 6th place spot as they're losing the top 5. Battling 2 and 3 wide right now. Caution could end the race if it's with 5 or less laps to go, and they'll be coming to 6 to go at the line. Brian Vickers, hold on. There's contact with Tony Stewart. Don't know how those cars didn't get more loose than what they probably should have. Relatively kept pretty good control. Junior had to lift, though, and he ended up losing a couple spots on the very outside lane to John Hamilton, Ryan Newman, and now the 135 to his inside. Newman looking low on Busch. Stewart in the wall off 2. Oh, Busch into the wall. Down into Newman. It's like Busch is battling for the win right now, but he's just trying to hang on to 6th. At all costs. 5 to go. Four to go at the line. Ryan Vickers still in the lead. The top 5 have really pulled away. Tony Stewart looking towards the top. Looked like he had a run there for a moment, stalled out. As loose as Kyle Busch's race car is, doesn't have to hold on too much longer, about another 10 miles. A little less than that now. Working the way off turn 2 with 4 laps to go. Busch got loose. John Hamilton's going to get ahead in the 120. Busch down low to block Dale Jr. And he's going to stay in line behind the 120 of John Hamilton yet into turns 3 and 4. Don't forget, this could be a potential fuel mileage race to the end. I doubt anybody's going to run out before the end of this race. Especially with the couple cautions we've seen late, but it's not impossible. Big block by John Hamilton. Busch hits him. He's going to knock him out of the way. And that's going to get Kyle Busch back into 6th again into turn 1. Hamilton crowded the 5. The 5 did come up a little extra. Kind of over-exaggerated that bad block attempt. Lap car down to the bottom. heading into turns 1 and 2. Busch down on the inside of the racetrack. Oh, that car's going to pull up. It's Michael Jordan Jr. in the 10. That's going to hold the pack up behind Busch. They're all checking up off turn 4. 2 to go for Brian Vickers. It's bought Kyle Busch a little bit more time. Problem is he's too far out ahead now. And they're coming with a run into 1 and 2. 135 will lead. 7th place, Dale Jr. and 8th right behind him. Jr.'s had a rough speed weeks. Blew an engine in his dual race and the Daytona 500. Started last in the 500 as a result and ended up finishing 40th with a DNF. At least he's in the top 10 of the Busch race right now. White flag, no cautions on the final lap. Brian Vickers leads. Contact in the tri-oval between Busch and Earnhardt. Busch is in the wall now. I don't know that he's going to be able to keep up with the 81 of Dale Jr. Jr. gets by for 6th place. Busch trying to hold on for 7th. Off turn 2. Leaders heading into turns 3 and 4. Kyle Busch not going to be able to catch Dale Jr. Tony Stewart looking for a move for 7th. Checkered flag is in the air at the front of the field, and Brian Vickers will win the season-opening Busch race at Daytona. Stewart, I think he got the wall off turn 4. He's going to lose about 2 or 3 spots. And Kyle Busch will hold on to a 7th place top 10 finish to start the year at Daytona. I am alright with that. I had a shot to win, but my car just did not have the tires underneath it after that late slide in the grass. And I'm okay with the top 10 at Daytona. I usually don't get top 10s on super speedways too often. 30 laps led for Brian Vickers. And that was the most laps led today, also for Vickers. Busch was just 2 behind, led 28. 2 laps away from getting the most laps led. Brian Vickers ended up getting it instead. Max points day, though, for the 57, and a win for Brian Vickers to start out the season in the Busch Series. Bobby Labonte will end up 2nd. Kenny Wallace 3rd. Mark Martin 4th. Martin Truex Jr. rounds out the top 5. Dale Jr. in 6th. Kyle Busch 7th. Top 7 were all Cup Series regulars, and then you have Irvin in 8th, Shane Meal 9th, and Aaron Crocker rounds out the top 10. For once a teammate won, how about Vickers? Yeah, really. I would imagine our teammates at Roush will probably win the Cup Series because we have 5 of them at some point in time. But yeah, it doesn't seem like our teammates win without us helping them like we did with Michael Waltrip at Homestead and our Do It for Dale season. 5 cautions for 15 caution lines, 2 hours, 11 minutes total time in the race today. 1/10 of a second margin of victory for Vickers over Labonte. 34 lead changes, quite a bit. Most of them were in the first half of the race. And then we actually had quite a few, though, towards probably right before that final restart, really. Or from the final restart, the first couple laps after that. We saw a few more. Including, of course, the pass for the win, Vickers on Busch. Average race speed of 137.39 miles per hour in tonight's race as well. There were a total of only 33 cars that finished on the lead lap today. And everybody, I think Rogers DNF very late, potentially. Might be wrong on that. He might have actually finished. I don't know what number he drives. But J.J. Yaley, Brandon Miller, Finley, and then Erickson all DNF'd. So we did have 4 drivers that did DNF today. Miller and Yaley blew up on the same lap, it looked like. Not bad. Bobby Labonte got 2nd. Hey, yeah, how about that? Bobby Labonte. He had a quiet day, but he was just there at the end. Keegan will win. Oh, wait, he threw such a bad block. He's in 6th. I don't think that's how I really fell back. Unless you were talking about Vickers throwing a bad block, because I had a run on Vickers after he took the lead. back straightaway, or it was either back straightaway or going into turn, well, whatever the case was. I think it was heading towards turn 3 at the end of the backstretch. I had to run. He threw a block. I made contact with him, and then my car just went up the racetrack. I couldn't catch it. Oh well. It is what it is. But yeah, Brian Vickers wins the first race. I don't think he won a single Busch or Cup race on our first season, but he's going to win the first Busch race of the custom schedule season. I will take a 7th place finish at Daytona, though. That's solid. Problem is, we have another super speedway on Wednesday night in the Busch Series at Talladega for race 2. So, starting off back-to-back super speedways. We got the first one out of the way. And we just got to get the other one. And I'm sure we'll have another epic race at Talladega as well. No big one today in the Busch Series. You can consider we had that one violent wreck that had about 4 or 5 cars in it. It wasn't really the big one in my eyes, but that ended up taking place with, I think that was the 3rd caution of the day with like 70, at lap 75, somewhere around there. Or no, that was the one that put us at the edge of the pit window with 38 to go, but then we had like 2 more cautions after that. I think secured everybody on making it on field to the end. So with the laps led, it looks like I'll be 6th in points rather than 7th. 1 point ahead of Dale Jr., so it's a good thing I led some laps today. And I'd still be 6th even if I ended up with the most laps led, but that would have been nice to have those extra 5 bonus points. Good start to the year, though. I did not have that in any of the series the last time, so it's nice to have that at least in the Busch Series this time. Bad start to the Cup Series last night. Good start in the Busch Series tonight. Hopefully we can have a good start in the Truck Series tomorrow night. So I'll have a voting poll in the chat for who you want me to race as for the Truck Series. Or voting poll, not in the chat, but in the community tab, sorry. In the community tab, I'll have a voting poll as soon as the stream ends for who you want me to drive as in the Truck Series. It'll be the final round. It'll be between Kevin Harvick and Ricky Craven, so be sure to cast your vote. And thanks for everybody watching. Like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Start Time with our Truck Series season opener on NASCAR 6 Custom Schedule Season